All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the code that literally holds the entire internet together. You know, have you ever been scrolling through a website, maybe your favorite one, and just stopped and thought, what is actually holding all this stuff together? You've got the text, the pictures, the links. What's the invisible framework behind it all? Well, surprise, it's not magic. It's actually a hidden language, one that pretty much every web browser on the planet understands. And that language is called HTML.
So let's dive into our first section, the web's hidden skeleton. And that's really the best way to think about HTML's job. It is the skeleton. It's the fundamental bone structure for every single website you visit.
Okay, so its full name is Hypertext Markup Language. I know, that sounds a little intimidating, right? But the key word here, the one you really need to remember, is markup. See, HTML isn't a programming language in the way you might think. It doesn't do a bunch of complex logic. Instead, it's a markup language. Its entire job is to describe and structure the content. It's like telling the web browser, hey, heads up, this right here is a heading, or this block of text, that's a paragraph.
And this is where it all clicks into place. HTML doesn't work alone. It's got two best friends, CSS and JavaScript. So think of it this way. If a website was a person, HTML is the skeleton. It provides that essential, non-negotiable structure. CSS, that's all the style. It's the clothes, the haircut, the whole look and feel. And JavaScript, well, that's the action. That's the ability to walk, to talk, to actually do stuff. But here's the thing. You absolutely need that skeleton first before you can even think about clothes or movement.
Okay, so if HTML is the skeleton, what are the actual bones made of? Well, they're made of these fundamental building blocks called elements.
Yeah, every single little piece of a web page, a heading, a paragraph, an image, you name it, is an element. Let's switch analogies for a second. If we're building a house, these elements are our individual bricks, our 2x4s. They're the raw materials we use to build out the rooms.
And the great thing is the anatomy of an element is actually pretty simple. Most of them have three basic parts. First, you've got a start tag, like this P for a paragraph. This just shouts to the browser, hey, a paragraph is starting right here. Then you've got the content itself, the actual words you see on the screen. And finally, you have an end tag. It looks just like the start tag, but with a forward slash, like this /P. And that just says, okay, we're done. The paragraph ends here.
All right, we get the bricks, we understand the materials, now it's time to actually build something. So let's look at how you'd lay the foundation for your very first web page.
Believe it or not, pretty much every web page on the internet starts with this exact same boilerplate structure. You can think of that main HTML tag as the deed to the property. It contains everything. Inside that, you've got the head. This is kind of like the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical wiring. It's absolutely crucial, but it's all hidden behind the walls. And then you have the body. That's the actual house. That's where all the rooms, furniture, and everything your visitors will actually see and interact with goes.
So inside that body, we can finally start putting stuff up. We add our content using more of these elements. The ones you'll use constantly are headings. They go from H1, which is your big main page title, all the way down to H6 for smaller subheadings. And of course, paragraphs, using that P tag we just met. In our house analogy, these are the walls that divide the rooms and the furniture you put inside them.
What if you need to group a bunch of related items together? Well, HTML has you covered with lists. It's really simple. If the order doesn't matter at all, think of a grocery list, right? Milk, eggs, bread, doesn't matter what order you buy them in, you use an unordered list, or UL. That gives you plain old bullet points. But if the order is absolutely critical, like the steps in a recipe, you use an ordered list, or OL, and that gives you a nice, neat, numbered sequence.
Okay, our page has some structure. It's got walls and some basic furniture. But let's be honest, it's a little boring. It needs some visual flair, and maybe a way for people to interact with it. And that's exactly where images and forms come into play.
So the image tag is how we put pictures on the page. You just give it a source, that's short for source, which is just the web address of the image file.
But listen up, because this is important. The single most crucial part of any image tag is the alt attribute. That's the alternative text. It does two things. It's what screen readers announce to visually impaired users, and it's also the text that shows up if the image fails to load. I cannot stress this enough. Using good alt text is absolutely vital for making the web accessible to everyone.
And what about letting users talk back? How do you collect information from them? You do that with forms. Using a combination of tags like form, label, and especially input, you can create text boxes, checkboxes, radio buttons, submit buttons, the whole shebang. Seriously, this is the building block for every search bar, every login screen, and every contact page you've ever used. So at this point, we know how to build a page that works. But there's a huge difference between a random pile of bricks and a thoughtfully designed house, right? And that brings us to a really, really important idea called semantics. It's all about building with meaning.
Okay, just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got a page built with nothing but generic div tags. A div is just a box, so yeah, it works. But the code itself tells you absolutely nothing about what's inside each box. It's a total mystery. But now look at the right. We see a smart structure. It's using specific, descriptive tags like header, main, and footer. Instantly, without even seeing the page, you, another developer, or a search engine can look at that code and get a clear map of the page's layout. It's no longer a mystery.
So why do we care so much about this? Why bother? Because the benefits are huge. For accessibility, it's a game changer. A screen reader can now tell a user, you are entering the main content area, or you've reached the site footer. For SEO, it's a massive boost because you're literally spoon-feeding Google the structure of your page, telling it what content is most important. At the end of the day, you're using HTML for its true purpose, to describe the meaning of your content, not just what it looks like.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from a single brick to a full-on architectural plan. We have a solid foundation. So, what comes next?
All right, let's lock in the big takeaways from all this. Number 1, HTML is the skeleton. It provides the structure, period. Number 2, whenever you can, use semantic tags like header and main. It gives that structure meaning for everybody and everything. And number 3, and I'll say it again, that alt attribute on your images, it is absolutely essential. Don't forget it. And with that, your foundation is officially built. Congratulations.
So, your foundation is built. It's solid. It's strong. You have the skeleton. The real question now is, how are you going to bring it to life? How will you give it that style, those clothes? And how are you going to make it move? We'll see you next time on The Explainer.